Ugh, gaming sucks. Gaming's just not enjoyable anymore. Gaming is dead. Or at least that's the sentiment shared by many of those online, one fueled by dissatisfaction, nostalgia, even buyer's remorse on the sad occasion. Everywhere you look, games developed by AAA developers is filled with nothing but greed. Wanting to grow bigger and bigger, adding more and more outlandish tactics to squeeze our wallets drier than raisins, laying off thousands of devs, trying to make a living just so companies can say, hey, our profits have grown. May we please have more money, Mr. Shareholders? Pretty please, we want more money. You can easily find people talking about the issue, going into all the ways companies will put in vile tactics to make more money out of their games. But you'll be hard stuck trying to find why this is happening. Companies wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't working, but clearly it is. There's a clear cause and effect that don't need to be spelled out, but we seem so focused on the effects. The battle passes, live servers, use of AI, completely blind to why this is happening and who is causing companies to abuse us in this way. Now, to be fair, it would be disingenuous for me to completely ignore the points many people have made as to why AAA gaming sucks. So before we go over the actions that I believe is causing all these issues, we need to quickly look at the company's reactions. Live service is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, having a team dedicated to keeping a game fresh with persistent updates, bug fixes, and even optimizing the game more are all positive things. However, on the other side of that sword is the general reason why people say this is ruining gaming. Annoyingly, for those uninitiated, live service literally just means a game will be worked on even after launch, with the power of the internet. Things that's not meant to be in the game, or if a game's getting stale, can easily be remedied with a simple update, a simple quick patch. But companies had to ruin it by releasing games that aren't finished. They get their guaranteed bag and just finish the game later. Doesn't have to be finished. Now, this is obviously bad. No one is arguing otherwise. A game should come out finished and get updates on top of the finished game. But this alone isn't ruining gaming. Games aren't dying because of higher-ups' poor excuse to finish a game later because it's live service. Games have been revived due to live service. A lot of people bring up No Man's Sky for how it came out terribly and was worked on until it was fully fixed. Cyberpunk 2077 is another example and my personal favorite. Removing personal opinions on either games, the fact that games have a second chance of life should at least be viewed in a better light. Now, this might be hard due to something called survivor's bias, but think about all the games that came out that was a middling 5 out of 10. Not quite shovelware, but games that were disappointing. Games with a lot of bugs that have no love after release. Wouldn't it be nice to see those games revived, given the love that it needed? And for those that want to argue that this is a modern thing, might I remind you that Fallout New Vegas was one of those absolute buggy messes that came out back on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It took several updates before it became a universally acclaimed RPG that it is now. Another one of those not really an issue in most context issues is battle passes. I generally prefer loot boxes over battle passes when it's implemented well, like Overwatch or Rainbow Six Siege.
Open my boxes!
But you can also say something similar about battle passes. They're not mandatory to buy, unlike something like World of Warcraft. It's a monthly to quarterly cosmetic subscription that you have to earn by playing the game, not a monthly subscription to play the game. My general disdain for battle passes comes from its inherent FOMO they have due to how they're designed. The fear of missing out element forces you to focus on one game for said month to quarter year to get the most out of your dollar in the battle pass. If you didn't get a skin you wanted in the battle pass, then you're shit out of luck. There has been efforts to make this fact more consumer friendly, with people pointing out Marvel Rivals for allowing you to work on previous battle passes you've bought. But I would like to congratulate the finals instead for this. While yes, Marvel Rivals is the bigger game and people will generally follow the bigger company if it's successful, such as battle passes due to Fortnite, the finals gives you the ability to not only work on previous battle passes you've bought at the same time as the current season's pass, but you can also buy passes that you might have skipped over. Now this implementation of the Battle Pass and Legacy Battle Pass isn't perfect either. When the season is over, you have to wait a little while before you can buy it in the Legacy season, but it's handled a lot better than straight up missing out on buying the pass or even working on the previous pass. Now if this is how free-to-play games get their bag, such as Fortnite, Marvel Rivals and the finals, I'm not going to be offended by the presence of a battle pass. I might buy it if I think the cosmetics in the battle pass are good and I'm going to be playing the game for a good while. But when that battle pass is in something like Call of Duty or Dead by Daylight, then I have more of an issue with the battle pass. Dead by Daylight isn't the worst when it comes to having a battle pass. If it helps pay for all the licensed characters in the game, then sure. But when the game costs $110 a year for a new installment that includes a battle pass on top of that, and at that point, that's not a game. That's just greed. Call of Duty is one of those fun little FPS games that I hear everyone bitching about. And I 100% fucking completely agree with it. You're telling me that this company is shitting out a new Call of Duty game every fucking year for $110? What the fuck? And it has the balls to include a battle pass. 6 per installment. 6! Each battle pass costs $10 and has cosmetic bundles separate from the battle pass that costs real money. Evil, pure greed, filthy. Not to mention that this is the same company that were firing devs for not using AI in their work. EA Sports is the same. They're making new sports games every year, and it's not just one sports game either, might I add. FC, Madden, NHL, F1, all of these games get yearly installments that cost about $110 each. Oh my god, just fucking stop with the yearly installments. Just make a quality game and, I don't know, update it. Pure quantity over quality. I remember when Fortnite Battle Royale was first a thing. It was vastly different for what it is now. When Battle Royale took the world by storm. Get it? Cause storm. Cause they release major updates almost every week. You couldn't go out without hearing a brand new thing they were adding to the game. Sometimes the item itself was too good it had to be removed in less than 24 hours. I bring this up for 2 reasons. One, I feel like this kind of destroyed people's perceptions of what it actually takes to run and maintain a game like Fortnite, let alone any game for that matter. Remember how feral people were when Cyberpunk was delayed just a few too many times? But this also caused a subtle issue for developers. The culture in the workplace was atrocious due to crunch. You know that dreaded feeling that because of a strict deadline, you need to get work done right then and there, so you pull an all-nighter just to get it all done? You know that stressful feeling? Now apply that stress into your work for several years that you all share with your co-workers. For several years. That is what the employees working on Fortnite were feeling. This is something that's been an issue for a long time, that be demanded by higher-ups like Fortnite and Anthem's case, with the team behind Anthem getting post-war levels of stress, to even personally inflicted crunch culture like Half-Life and Halo 2. Now no, there is going to be people out there that when I mention those 2 games will start drooling at the mouth, and the cogs in their minds will start cranking thinking, maybe self-inflicted crunch culture is a good thing. It made 2 of the best first-person shooter games, which I would like you to stop for a moment and think about it for just a little bit. Is the mental health of people really worth these games? Smoking makes you feel good in the moment, but your mental and physical health gets fucked the more you smoke. Now, generally the higher ups are the ones that enforce crunch culture, more intentionally than not, with all the devs not wanting to take and need a break, because if they take a break, then the workload of the days they missed is going to be put on someone else who also desperately needs a break. It's a cultural system that constantly eats at itself. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, is a quote that allows the shitty behavior that's usually thrown around by, admittedly, a lot of people. But it just propels the cycle of crunch culture from higher ups and pissy consumers who defend these big companies. So a little bit behind the scenes here. I had to rewrite the script 3 times, which is typical, right? The first draft is never actually as good as it seems until you make a second draft or a third draft. But the reason why I had to rewrite the script was because, and you might laugh at this, I wanted to make sure I was absolutely certain that I was not going to be compared to a basement dweller Redditor with awful takes. Now, these people make up about 0.1% of people online, right? But they are some of the loudest, most obnoxious kinds of people. And it has to be 2 separate types of people too. You'll have those who will defend tooth and nail for the companies they have treasured their whole life and excuse the abuse they cop from their treasured studio. And then you've got those who are entitled little shits who spit the dummy when they don't get their precious game they've been waiting right away. In both cases, everything is personal to them. Like, okay, I think Pokemon is fucking shit, with Scarlet and Violet Legends EA really showing how far behind they are. And they will defend the game to an absurd degree. Mention that, hey, maybe the devs behind Cyberpunk 2077 shouldn't get death threats at all, no matter how upset you are with the delays or launch. Then I become the CD Projekt Red Glazer, essentially putting me into Group A by Group B, which, might I add, both equally dense. There's no real winning here. I won't lie, I do glaze Cyberpunk 2077 a little more than I should. I'm aware that it shouldn't have been released in the state that it was in, but I praise what the team was able to do to get the game into the state it should have been, and then added more on top of that game. Now, these people generally make up a small chunk of launch sales for games. They're not the majority of people buying these games that reward companies for their shitty practices. Rather, it's a group of people who generally don't care enough to do something about these. It's casual audiences. I would like to give a fat disclaimer before going forth with my thoughts and opinions. Don't harass people who game purely as a social hobby with their mates. While yes, these are the types of people who buy the latest Call of Duty games every year and stick with 1 to 2 games to play with said mates, they shouldn't be attacked for this. If you have a friend who is like this and is too unsure about playing other games, you're more than welcome to show them this part of the video, with the disclaimer and all, to show where I stand with them. I'm aware that not everyone is as passionate about gaming as me. I'm also aware that it's a lot easier to stick with the same game that you've played and not really branch out other than Call of Duty, Fortnite, FIFA, Minecraft. Quick story. I have 2 friends that I would consider to be more of a casual audience. Both are still people I consider friends despite my online rat persona. Both got into gaming via Fortnite back when it took the media by storm. One of my mates didn't really play a lot of games, mostly sticking to safe, free-to-play games such as Fortnite and Valorant, with the only paid games he played was Minecraft and City Skylines. The other mate, however, was a lot more open to playing not only paid games, but older games too. He was open to expand his gaming taste and really enjoyed playing Left 4 Dead 2, Mirror's Edge, Bloons Tower Defense 6, Red Dead Redemption 2, Risk of Rain 2, all of these amazing games in overall different genres, but more often than not fell back to playing Fortnite and Rocket League. That's not a bad thing either. They're not supervillains for enjoying games casually. Most people aren't. Even if the casual audience buys into terrible tactics from AAA studios and reward companies that treat them like shit, guess what? They're not killing gaming. Fuck, like, gaming isn't dying. It's just people coping and seething. Like, yes, games can be of lower quality due to reasons I've mentioned before. But to claim that gaming is dying is an absolute cynical look on what has been some of the greatest years for gaming. We got
Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Butters, go buy World of Warcraft, install it on your computer, and join the online sensation before we all murder you.
Wait, sorry, hang on. We got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Split Fiction, Oblivion Remaster that came to a shock to us all, Death Stranding 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Dying Light the Beast, Hades 2, Silent Hill Fs, Sonic Racing Crossworld, Ghost of Yotei, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline 2, fucking Ark Raiders. That game has got a death grip on me, oh my god. And that was just this year. Sort of back on people that argue that gaming is dying, I do feel bad for them. I find that it comes from people who either watch their favorite game series crash and burn like Halo and Pokemon, which I can relate to them both. I love Halo 3, Reach, Combat Evolved, which I've grown to appreciate and love, and I've been playing Pokemon since Platinum. Others say that gaming is dying because the gaming industry isn't as experimental as it once was, which, sure, you don't have like EA Sports big anymore, but to say we haven't gotten experimental titles in the last decade is insane. Whether I'd like to admit it or not, Battle Royales were very experimental at the time, with PUBG and Fortnite being a part of a niche that grew into the Goliaths that they are now. When a niche becomes profitable, companies will jump on the bandwagon, making it no longer niche. That's generally the nature of the industry. Not to say that they aren't companies out there spitting in the faces of the higher-ups. Baldur's Gate 3, The Finals, Helldivers 2, Deadlock, Ark Raiders, all of these games were made by some of the greatest minds in the industry, and they're being slept on while people bitch about Call of Duty more. This is kind of a universal issue when it comes to gaming, but we tend to compare companies making the games rather than teams internally making the games. Let me put it this way, if any of you enjoyed the Battlefield series for a while, enjoying Battlefield 6 after the disaster of 5 in 2042, well, the team behind the good Battlefield games aren't at DICE anymore. They haven't for a while now. So where are they? They founded Embark Studios, the team that made The Finals and Ark Raiders. Magnus Norton, Rob Runson, Stefan Stanberg, Patrick Stotterland, Joanne Anderson, Jenny Hodgson. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. All left DICE and EA to make something truly amazing. Gaming is better than ever. There are thorns here and there, sure, but it's not killing the industry. I didn't even really go over that many games, and yet Resident Evil Requiem is looking fire. Invincible Versus looks to be an interesting fighter. Mina the Hollow is an indie game I can't wait for after playing the demo. Don't be afraid to try new things either. Gaming doesn't have to be a shooter or a sports game. Play older games. I've been playing Silent Hill recently, and that's a game that came out back on the PlayStation, and I enjoy going back to Pokemon Platinum and Heart Gold pretty often. The people that bitch that gaming is dying are more than welcome to play the older games if it was generally that much better than now. Nothing's stopping them. Gaming isn't dying. It never has been. The only time gaming was truly dying was back in 1983. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe. See you later.